right, fellas. Welcome back to the Sports City Cafe.
Good morning, Ernest.
Glad to see y'all again. Appreciate y'all coming in for another episode of this great show that we're putting together. And hey, let's talk a lot of sports, and we'll see y'all in a little bit.
We'll get it going.
Thank you, Ernest.
Thank you, Ernest. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports City Cafe and another episode of Breakfast with Champions. Supposedly we're experts.
That's what I heard.
Have you heard about this? That's a new one on me, but we'll figure it out. So, big weekend in sports. I mean, I'm still recovering. I don't know about you. A lot of late nights staying up, especially.
Some disappointments as well.
A little bit of that, too. I mean, considering Saturday night didn't really end until 3 a.m. Sunday morning if somebody wanted to watch that Cal game that stayed up way late. But anyway, that's beside the point. What is your biggest takeaway from the weekend so far?
Well, looking on all the teams, going into this year, you had starters that didn't play in the preseason in the NFL, and how much rust needed to be knocked off before they really got into playing and gelling together.
All right, well, here's my takeaway, and I agree with you on that. I mean, there has to be some rust in there. But my takeaway is a little bit from college football. You got 5 teams in the SEC ranked in the top 10 after this week. Are you buying all 5 of them?
Buying or selling, that's a good subject, and we'll cover that more as we get along.
But first, we got a little high school football talk. Hey, Jeff, get us started on some high school football here.
Well, we have 2 teams on the coast that are still remaining undefeated, and one of the teams is one that I brought up in our first show, and that was St. Martin. St. Martin at 3-0, and they battled against St. Stanislaus this weekend. They put up 40 points on St. Stanislaus, and that was pretty impressive. You have Hancock is also undefeated, and as they defeated Gaucher this weekend, 28-14.
Well, some great games this weekend. You kind of look around, disappointing loss for Oak Grove to Gulfport to Oak Grove. I mean,
Yes.
That's disappointing when anytime any of your local guys lose. Ocean Springs finally gets a win against Moss Point. A little disappointing start for Ocean Springs. They're normally a juggernaut over there in Jackson County.
Yes. One thing that I see, though, is you've got some teams still that have had that just having a hard time finding wins. And looking at some of the teams, when they did break off, West Harrison and Harrison Central broke off into 2 teams.
Right.
You do have some recruiting problem. It's difficult to
high
recruit.
School, don't say recruiting now.
Oh,
Be very
not
careful.
Well, I'm talking about recruiting from in your own
kidding.
students to get them to play, because when some would rather play in the band and be a part of a winning, a winning organization, it's difficult to get them to buy in and want to come and play.
So when you're saying you've got that culture of not being a winning team, it's hard to get guys that are probably physically talented enough to do that, because
Absolutely.
Let's be honest. A lot of these guys can play basketball. It's less wear and tear on the body. They can play baseball. It's a lot less wear and tear on the body. And if they get that good, they can still get that scholarship and still eventually make that money. So when you don't have a winning football team, it's hard to draw them into that. And I agree with you.
And there are also concerns that parents have in keeping their children safe and keeping them healthy. And they've made a lot of improvements in the way the game is played and the way it is officiated to keep the game safer.
I think as a whole that football across the board is doing a better job at keeping everybody safe. Not just, the NFL obviously has a big emphasis on it. So does college football, and it goes all the way down to high school, Pee-wee, the whole 9 yards. The kids' safety is becoming paramount, which it should have been years ago.
Yes.
But I think now, I think parents can be a little bit less hesitant to let their kids play now. One quick thing, I'm going to jump ahead real quick. Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Featured on Sports Center, top 10 plays. I mean, did you happen to see that?
I did not catch that.
You got to go home and check that out. It's nice to see the guys from the Gulf Coast get the recognition they're looking for. And coming up real shortly, we're going to really dive into some college football. We got some huge things coming up in the next segment here. I hope you got your thinking cap on, because I'm going to test you on a few things here. Are you sure you're ready for that?
Well, we'll have to see. You'll have to test me and find out.
Well, you are an expert then, right?
That's what I've heard.
All right, just double checking. All right, everyone, we will be coming back very shortly here to the Sports City Cafe. Guys, we hope you come on back with us. It's Breakfast with Champions.
This is Vic Dehan coming to you from the Champion Certified Pre-Owned Headquarters. Watching them unload the pre-owned vehicles, and this is the reason why you want to buy at Champion. Price? You come to Champion. Selection? You come to Champion. Affordability? You come to Champion. Certified pre-owned? 100,000-mile warranty, and 125-point thorough inspection. Your certified pre-owned headquarters, championvalues.com.
Welcome to the Hard Rock. Welcome home away from home. We've been waiting for you.
This September, win your share of up to $100K in cash and extra credit during our $100,000 points race. Earn entries all month for a better chance to win. The top 400 earners could win their share of $100K in cash and extra credit on Saturday, September 28th, starting at 6 p.m.
Come win with us at the Hard Rock.
This September, let us welcome you to the Hard Rock, Biloxi's favorite casino.
This town is on the move, and we're moving forward with you, meeting your ever-growing communication needs with ever faster connections. Now we're taking our commitment to you one step further. Cable One Business is becoming Sparklight Business, connecting people to one another, connecting your business to the world, connecting what's now to what's next. Sparklight Business. Go anywhere from here.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast with Champions at Port City Cafe, which we've turned into Sports City Cafe. Jeff, you ready for some college football talk?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it real quick. 5 SEC teams in the top 10 after week 2. Let's not count week 0. That doesn't count, even though Florida played in there. I don't talk about week 0. That's just a weird thing. But getting into it, buying or selling all 5 teams in the top 10 from the SEC.
I see a few that I'm selling.
Probably the same 2 that I'm selling.
Absolutely. Now, I am a little more convinced now. At the beginning of the season, when we began talking, we asked who was the most overrated, and I had Ohio State.
Okay.
I think after their performance with Cincinnati this weekend, I'm going to have to walk that back a little bit and, of course, see what they do as we go forward.
I think we're both going to obviously sell Auburn and Florida, top 10 teams yet. I'm not convinced yet. I'm not there yet. Nick's at quarterback at Auburn. He's a work in progress. He's a true freshman. Yeah, there's going to be some growing pains. I get that. He's a legacy kid as well, too. And then Florida's offense is still atrocious, if you ask me. Felipe Franks, I don't buy that. Both teams with great defenses, don't get me wrong. But here's the question. When they get into the meat of the SEC season, will they be able to hang with the LSUs, with the Alabamas, with the Georgias? All these teams are on their schedule. They still both got you got A&M on the schedule for Auburn as well, too.
Right.
That's going to be a tough out. I mean, A&M played well against Clemson, but not great like last year. But still, I don't see Auburn or Florida both being there at the end of the year.
Well, like you said, defense is great, but you have to score points to win a game.
Well, talk about LSU real quick. LSU had a great game offensively against Texas. Burrow looked sharp. He did. I'm starting to buy him. Early in the year, I was a little bit out on him, to be frankly honest with you, but I was wrong. I'll admit that I was wrong. He looks great so far. Against a middling Big 12 defense, which middling Big 12 defense means awful, but that's beside the point. But he looked sharp, he looked efficient. LSU moved the ball well through the air and on the ground. What do you think about LSU's defense, though, so far?
I think there's some work that needs to be done in the secondary. They're able to get a rush, from their defensive line, but in the secondary, a little bit of trouble.
DBU looked a little bit non-DBU, to be honest with you, to be frankly honest with you. Now, they had some great plays back there, don't get me wrong, but they gave up a ton of yards to Ehlinger, and Ehlinger's a good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback. He's not Tua. He's not Jalen. He's not any of these guys. He's good, but he's not a great quarterback.
Well, they say that you only have about 3 to 4 seconds to get a pass off. If you can't get that push and collapse that pocket in that amount of time, then you leave your DBs out on the island. You've got to close that gap a little bit and rush that quarterback just a little bit more. I'd like to see a little bit more of that out of the defensive line, and I think that might help with the defensive backs. But, I mean, they were getting some push.
They were. Now, very quickly, Alabama, easy, no problem whatsoever. They put up all the points in the first half and ran away. Nobody got hurt. That's the most important thing for them. Georgia had no issues whatsoever either. The cupcake schedule. They make these schedules 8-9 years in advance when they schedule these non-conference games. And here's the thing. Nobody can play 12 juggernauts. It doesn't happen. I mean, not even Notre Dame as an independent plays 12 juggernauts. Well, let's call them semi-independent since they're kind of ACC light or whatever you want to call them now. But people are faulting teams for their scheduling when they make these things years in advance. But you got to have a break in there at some point.
Yeah, and you can't have a total strength of schedule be all, great teams. You're going to have to pepper them in with some. Who's going to play you?
Well, not only that, you've got to work within each other team's conference schedule as well, too.
That's true.
It's impossible to play 12 top 25 games. You can't do it. And nobody's ever going to be happy when it comes to that. When you have 130 teams in Division I or the FBS or whatever you want to call it nowadays, you can't do anything with that. But you do the best you can with the scheduling. You take the teams that are in front of you and you take care of business. And I think that's what the top 5 is doing right now.
And one thing I look at when you are playing the smaller schools and you're playing the non-ranked teams is how many points can you score on them and how many points can you keep them from scoring. And Alabama is doing a good job of that.
That's right, exactly. As well as Georgia.
Yes.
As well as Clemson. Now, Clemson did play a top-flight team. Don't get me wrong, they did. A&M, that's a good schedule for them, but that game was scheduled 8 years ago.
Yes.
So who knows what was going to happen? I mean, A&M was barely in the SEC when they scheduled them 8 years ago, so go figure.
And A&M does have a good quarterback.
Absolutely.
And
Kellen
it's not
Mond
like
is
they
a
were,
good quarterback.
Yes.
All right, I got to talk about this just because of who I am. It's no longer Tennessee. It's LOL Tennessee. I'm at a loss for words what's happening in Knoxville nowadays.
They're finding ways to lose. That's all I can say.
And it gets more and more creative every week. Let's see what they play Chattanooga this week. Is this possibly the only win left on Tennessee's schedule as they play Chattanooga this week?
I don't know. Could it be possible we see a winless Tennessee team this year?
I don't think that's possible. I mean, they got to pull one out somewhere. Now, do they go winless in the SEC? I give that about a 70 to 80% possibility that they do go winless in the SEC.
Especially because they're playing SEC East as the heavy part of their schedule.
Well, but let's be honest, the SEC East has not been that impressive so far. Yeah, they're going to play Georgia. That's a loss. Mm-hmm. They're going to play Florida. That's a loss. Let's look around. Kentucky, that's a loss. Kentucky's not
Missouri?
as good as they were last year, but they're better. Missouri has looked a little bit shaky.
Yes.
Let's be honest with you.
I was surprised at how they started off the season, and they're not what I thought they would be with Kelly Bryant coming in and taking over the team.
I've never bought Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant is a decent quarterback. Let's be frankly honest with you. He's a good quarterback. He is. But he's not going to be the guy to come in and save your program.
Right.
I mean, he's a good transfer pickup for Missouri. He's coming in for a legend, though. I think Drew Lock was an excellent quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to prove that on the next level, to be frankly honest with you. But still, Kelly Bryant is, once again, good, not great.
Yeah.
All right, SEC West real quick. State looks pretty good so far. Not too bad, to be frankly honest with you. Ole Miss, we'll move on to that another day.
Yeah, let's give them a few more weeks and see what happens.
They need a little bit of help. Let's move on from there. A&M, they have an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. The way that theirs lines up, they have back-to-back games that are going to be absolutely brutal going down the road. So do we look at the SEC championship game right now as Alabama and Georgia, and that's it right now?
I don't know. I think that LSU could possibly pull this off this year. This is the chance that with the offense that they have, because LSU primarily was, like you said, DBU or a defensive team. This is the first time that I've seen in a while for them to have a quarterback that could actually put the points up on the board. And I mean, they have had some good quarterbacks, but they have not been known for developing quarterbacks and being an offensive, monster.
Comes down to one game again this year, November 9th in Tuscaloosa. LSU visits Alabama. That's probably the game. And Ernest and I have already talked about we got to come up with a bet for something here. So he and I will figure that out. Feel free to jump in on that if you want to.
That's going to be the test right there.
That's going to be the test to see who wins the West. Georgia's the clear front runner in the East.
Absolutely.
The Georgia-Florida game will have a little bit of impact on it, but I think that's it. I think that clearly wraps up the SEC East. I know we're in week 2 and we're talking about this way too early, but just looking at what we've seen on tape and on paper so far, I think that's exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, guys. Coming up here very shortly, y'all are going to get into a little pro football talk. I'm going to get out of here, and Russell's going to come up here. Come on back, Sports City Cafe.
Welcome to Hard Rock Biloxi. Let us take care of you.
Fall into winning at Hard Rock Biloxi this September and October with our 150K Progressive Sweeps. Drawings take place every Saturday from 6 to midnight with a top prize of $10,000 every week and $80,000 guaranteed to be given away.
You walk in, everybody knows who you are. They shake your hand. I get hugs all the time. I wouldn't go anywhere else.
Absolutely. So this September, let us welcome you to the Hard Rock, Biloxi's favorite casino.
Attention music lovers and festival goers. Book a 3-day weekend at the Gulf Coast Historic Centennial Plaza in Gulfport, and you'll be staying in the heart of chillin' on the Gulf Coast. A 3-day music, food, and arts and crafts festival, September 20th through the 22nd. You'll love the beautifully renovated hotel, the water park with a lazy river and swim-up bars, the amazing selection of food and arts and kids activities, and over a dozen concerts each day for every music taste. J.J. Gray and Mofro. North Mississippi All-Stars. Samantha Fish. Cowboy Mouth, and the Molly Ringwalds, to name a few. Vendor spots are still available. Special room rates and concert tickets are only available by calling 800-813-6884. Visit chillinonthegulfcoast.com and eventbrite.com for a full concert lineup.
All right, welcome back to Sports City Cafe. We talking a lot of sports today. We're going to bring in Russell Shank from Hard Rock Casino to join us.
All right.
And we're going to talk a little NFL. Talk a little, sports betting, fantasy football. So let's go. Russell, what you got?
All right. Well, listen, first of all, thank you guys for having me here on the sports show. I've got the ball right here with me. I'm going to ask everybody to come on down, get in the game at the Hard Rock Casino Biloxi. Every Saturday and Sunday we have a big watch party. If you make your bets at the Hard Rock and you got a losing ticket, you can bring it down there. We put it in the drum. We're giving away prizes, free bets. Come on down to the Hard Rock. Excited to be here. Ready to talk some NFL football. What a great weekend we had this weekend with football, and ready to get into it.
It was interesting the weekend we've had, especially with Antonio Brown, and that's been a circus in Oakland right now.
Absolutely. I don't think Oakland really realized what they were getting into when they got into the Antonio Brown business. And I think they realized they gave away some draft picks for no good reason.
Now, Ernest, what are your thoughts on how this whole thing went down?
It seems to me like, Antonio Brown, he's a diva. He loves a drama, and it seemed like daily he was on Facebook, he was on Instagram, just posting different things. And, for him to be released and then go to a Super Bowl contender, a Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots, to me, in the NFL, it just seems like, maybe he should have been suspended for the entire year.
It seems like the Patriots have a history of being the beneficiary of everybody else's, what do you call it, debacles?
Right. I agree with you on one hand. I feel like there may have been some talking going on prior to this and them setting this up a little bit. But with Antonio Brown, you got to wonder if he's going to mess up that locker room. I know Tom Brady and those guys have had the Josh Gordons and this and that, but most of those players that have come to New England, like Randy Moss and a few of them, they've made their money. They just want to win a Super Bowl. It's not Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's about Antonio Brown. Everywhere he's been, he's caused problems. They've wanted him out of Pittsburgh for a long time. I do not see this working. I don't see it working. Bill Belichick is not going to put up with the antics.
So they may not be the beneficiaries after all. Right?
Yeah, I just don't know. I think New England looks amazing. I thought what they did to Pittsburgh, that Tom Brady is just, he knows where the open guy is all the time. But I don't think Antonio Brown's going to make it through half the season.
Now, I was going to say, last night they didn't need him. They didn't need him.
Yeah. He's more like Terrell Owens was. Terrell Owens, when he was going through all his antics with the 49ers, the Cowboys, and T.O.'s just, Antonio Brown, he likes the drama.
Well, going around the league, what are some things that you saw this weekend that were some surprises or some standouts in some of the games?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that made me happy. Green Bay's got a defense. They look great. The last 2 years, Green Bay their draft has been nothing but defensive players. When we went through the Ted Thompson era as our GM, the GM of the Packers, they were all offense. He didn't care about defense. He actually came out and told one of the defensive players that it's about scoring points. All they want to do is beat people by scoring. So Aaron Rodgers hasn't had the benefit of being on the field a bunch because every time the defense was out there, people were up and down the field. Well, that didn't happen this past weekend because they were all over Chicago.
Ernest, couldn't you see this weekend how some teams not starting their starters or not playing their starters in the preseason, how it affected the play of the game starting off?
Clearly,
Did you see that?
when you're watching Trubisky at a 3rd and 5 and the clock is winding down and the head coach doesn't even call a timeout, and then they take a 5-yard penalty, delay of game, and then it becomes 4th and 10, they don't even attempt a field goal. Clearly that's a preseason mistake that, can be corrected in the regular season. But, along with Russell saying about Green Bay, my team was the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Cleveland Browns, it's like Delaney Walker said during their, after the game, they are who we thought they were, crown them. I mean, he nailed it right there because the whole offseason it's been Cleveland going to the playoffs. What's Cleveland's chance of going to the Super Bowl? Heck, they come out the first week and they lay an egg in front of their crowd, their home crowd, and so much expectations for Cleveland. It just.
Well, during the 1980 Olympics, it was Herb Brooks that said that dream teams don't tend to work. It's not about getting the best players; it's about getting the right players. And getting the right players for your system. So you're seeing that.
That's the truth of it. In sports especially, everybody loves the hype train, get behind a team, and they're going to be the one to come out this year, and that was Cleveland. And I knew it. I knew the egg was going to be laid. You can't take a bunch of stars and bring them all together and expect them to be a team. But I do think they have potential, and look out mid-season, they may put it together and go 8-8, 9-7, because that division is very weak.
Now, do the Steelers have a lot to be worried about after performance
I don't
last
know,
night?
because the Steelers have been known in history to start out bad, but I think they'll put it together.
All right, well, let's end it with that. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of betting.
Sounds great.
This is Vic Dehan coming to you from the Champion Certified Pre-Owned headquarters. Watching them unload the pre-owned vehicles, and this is the reason why you want to buy at Champion. Price? You come to Champion. Selection? You come to Champion. Affordability? You come to Champion. Certified pre-owned, 100,000-mile warranty, and 125-point thorough inspection. Your certified pre-owned headquarters, championvalues.com.
Welcome to the Hard Rock. Welcome home away from home. We've been waiting for you.
This September, win your share of up to $100K in cash and extra credit during our $100,000 points race. Earn entries all month for a better chance to win. The top 400 earners could win their share of $100K in cash and extra credit on Saturday, September 28th, starting at 6 p.m.
Come win with us at the Hard Rock.
This September, let us welcome you to the Hard Rock, Biloxi's favorite casino.
All right, welcome back to Sports City Cafe. We're going to talk a little bit of sports betting here. We'll talk some Saints and what we're looking for with these guys. And Russell with the Hard Rock, we're going to get into it.
Well, you know what? The Saints are going to be playing the Rams, and the Saints are coming in as an underdog. It's the rematch of the championship game last year, and the Saints have got some revenge on their minds, and they're coming in as a 3-point underdog, which means there's probably going to be a lot of betting on the Saints. Get your bets in early, guys, because that line's going to change. You can believe it.
Now, Sean Payton's done a good job at getting some new toys for Drew Brees. Is there any that you're looking for to see?
Well, clearly Latavius Murray. He has to have brought him in for a reason to let Mark Ingram go to the Ravens. So I think bringing in Latavius Murray, and of course the tight end he brought in from the Ravens, Jared Cook. He's another toy. We've missed Jimmy Graham clearly. So hopefully that this guy's going to come in and pick up where Graham left off, and he'll be another toy right there. So it's exciting going to the Rams, and picking up where we left off last year with that referee situation. Hopefully we're going to take care of them.
Well, I'll say this, when it comes to Drew Brees as a quarterback, he makes every player better. When you look at Graham, you brought up Jimmy Graham. What has he done since he left?
Not a whole lot.
Saints. No, he's a good tight end, but he's not a great tight end.
Right.
But when he was with Drew Brees,
he
was a great tight end.
Yep.
And I think the same thing's going to happen with Jared Cook. Jared Cook is a good tight end, but Drew Brees has the ability to elevate everybody to the next level. He's that good of a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Saints' offense will never be an issue.
Well, we're going to get to see that offense being tested because, like you said, the Rams coming up, then they play at Seattle, then they come back and play at home against the Cowboys. Those are three defenses that tend to make you worry, but not when Drew Brees is at the helm.
Yep, that's right.
Well, and I was just going to say, the Cowboys game, looking at how the Cowboys did yesterday, Cowboys against the Giants, I mean, Dak was just phenomenal. The defense, of course, they were going up against Eli, but their defense looks like it's on another level this year. So that game right there in particular, that's a robbery. It's not like Atlanta, but when the Saints play the Cowboys, it's always, you better believe, we're ready to butt some heads.
And that's a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
That's going to be a
big game.
Big game.
Mm-hmm. So,
I tell you who impressed me this weekend, though, and I know it, you say it every year, it seems like, is New England. My gosh, they looked good against Pittsburgh last night.
Yeah,
the rich keep getting richer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were incredible. But it'll be interesting to see how this weekend unfolds with what we got coming up.
Now we have talked about how some of the changes with some of the teams that have come up have made change to odds. Is there anything in particular that stands out?
The thing that stands out to me is the way the lines are moving, okay? Since we're in the Southeast, we see the Saints, you want to get those bets in early because the line's going to go against the Saints. But then there's other teams, the ones that are going against them, where it may help those folks. Mm-hmm. So get your bets in early. That's if you're a Saints fan and when you want to make the wager, you got to get it in early week. Don't wait till the last minute because you're going to get there. And that's another thing with Sportsbook. I see this, it seems like every weekend. People wait till the last minute to make your bet and there's a line. So get your bets in early, guys.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a great show. Looking forward to doing this against next Monday. And we're going to talk a lot of Saints and keep having another great show. So thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having us, Ernest.